Welcome to the second episode of Behind the Mix with the amiimopps. Today we're going to be talking about No Remorse, coming up. Okay, welcome to episode 2. Today we're going to talk about No Remorse. Let me give you a little preview of that.
Not me, never. 17 years and I'm still no one to you. It's not hate, it's apathy. I've been from a life without you.
Right off the bat, you'll notice that the vocals are kind of up in front of your face, which is kind of what we're going for the beginning of this song, because if you notice throughout the song, the reverb gets heavier, which is what we were going for, to make it more like a dream, which is partly why we named the album Whispers of a Dream, because a lot of the songs have that heavy reverb sound. So let's start off with the drums again. The drums are pretty simple on this one. Ended up miking up the hi-hat, so let's do bass and drums here. Let's do that. Okay, so for snare drum selection, I had two options. The wooden snare drum, which is made from birch wood, and metal snare drum, which I don't know if you can see in the shot. But I decided to go with this one because it's a little more mellow and it just has a little more character than the metal drum does. This snare also blended well with the rest of the acoustic elements, I thought, which is why I used it. The all birch shell kind of gives it a lower tonality with a little bit of high tonality. And then with EQ I could bring up the mids a little bit just to even it out a little bit, give it a little more body. As far as snare length goes, I decided to make the snares a little looser for this song because of the tempo. Typically with snare drums and the snare length, you want to kind of match it to the tempo of the song. For drum skins, for the top I have this Remo Emperor X. It has a control dot in the middle to control ringing, and I also added a piece of moon gel on this side for the extra ringing as well. And then for the back, obviously got the snare, then a clear head, which is made by Tama. It's designed for the bottom of the snare, which I've cranked that up pretty tight, because it's the snare bottom. So as far as the top is concerned, I tuned it a little higher than a rock song. I tried to go for more of a higher pitch sound for this one. It's just what I was hearing. As far as stick selection goes, I typically use the Vic Firth American Classic 2B. For this song, didn't really need anything with a harsh attack, or heavy attack really. Instead I decided to go with this lightning rod stick, which is comprised of 6 individual sticks that are wood, and then combine them into one stick. So it actually kind of gives it a little bit of a snare-like quality to it. Obviously it's not metal, but... And then when I hit it with the drum, it blends well with the snare. As far as hitting the drum, did standard rim shots. Actually for the beginning of the song I actually just hit it in the middle of the dot right here, which you'll see in the mix session. There's a separate snare track for all of these hits. And then for the rest of the song I just did rim shots, so like that. Or like that. So as far as the toms go, they're pretty much the same thing as the snare drum. All birch shell, use clear heads, Remo. It's the Emperor without the control dot. And then the bottom head is also clear. It's just what I had. I ended up tuning all of the songs on that album and every song that I do to the key of the song. And typically for the top tom, I'll tune it to the dominant of the key. So I'll make a whole video on drum tuning another time, the methods that I use to do it. So yeah. As far as the bass sound goes on this one, it's just the amp. And on the amp itself, I knocked a little bit of the treble out of it. And then even I did a little more afterwards with this, because I wanted the bass to be the foundation on this song. And let's look at the guitars real quick. There's 4 main rhythm string parts. So we have 2 Martin guitars, one of them's a D18. Can't remember what the other one is off the top of my head. And then there's a guitarlele, and then the mandolin, which M played. So all 4 rhythm string parts were recorded this way. An SM57 on the left and an Audix i5 on the right. I linked them both as a stereo pair, which is why you'll see all the tracks as stereo tracks in the mix. They're about a foot away from the sound hole of the guitar, which you'll see in the video right now. And they're about 3 feet up from the ground. And then let's play them, just them. So, with the guitars panning wise, you got one of the Martin guitars on the left, one on the right, and then you have one kind of on the right and one kind of on the left. So, just to give it a huge stereo sound. And the reason I chose to use 2 different guitars is because the 2 different guitars actually make your mix wider. And then, as you notice, there's a lot of guitarlele solos in this song. A lot of call and response with the vocal. Let's give the vocal and the guitarlele a listen.
Is she like me? Or did you see me as only a child? I know.
Yeah. As you'll notice, there's actually some reverb on Emily's voice. And then for chorus number 2, we have Nick. Nick comes in with his vocal harmony.
Years have gone by and by. Who's gonna stop the blaming? Don't you know I have tried? Maybe it's not worth saving.
Then you'll notice with the guitarlele, added a little bit of slap delay, which is found on a whole lot of old records, but also it's pretty common practice. You get a lot of slap back with guitar. It's a little delay. Add a little bit more of a 3D effect. And what you'll notice is it does sound like it's a little behind, which is the point. It kind of makes it pop out a little bit more.
I will sing no requiem you cannot force.
Okay, so what I did here in Logic, they have this thing called automation, where you can just, it moves the faders for you in a certain time span. So what the idea here was to bring up the choir part at the end of the song and then lower the bridge vocals. So this part does seem like it's dragged out a little bit as far as length goes. But again, the idea was you're going into a dream, which is a very gradual thing. So we didn't want to do it super fast. The vocal verb for the, let's see, what is that? Yeah, the bridge. Vocal verb for the bridge actually increases as the volume of it decreases. So it sounds like it's going away. The choir at the end just comes in strong. And if you'll notice, the drums start going down to about somewhere towards the end. And then at the end, all you do is end up with strings and choir noises. So. Then you get that falling off of a cliff type of effect, which is found a lot in this album. Hope you found this useful. Not a whole lot to this song, really. I mean, like I said, it's fun to make. Can really focus on what we're trying to do artistically. As always, if you've liked what you've seen, please leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.